Hello, guys. How's everybody? Welcome, boys and girls. Here we are in our 61st show with a great guest. It's an honor to present you a legend, living legend in not just in American volleyball but in world volleyball. It is a pleasure for me to present you Mr. Doug Beal, all the way from Colorado Springs. How are you, Doug?
Alejandro, I'm great. It's a pleasure for me to join you today, and I congratulate you on the all of these interviews and what you're contributing. It must be remarkable, all of the different people that you've talked with, and you should put a book together, I think, or some maybe a long-term movie with all the different ideas that everybody has shared with you. So congratulations, and I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Thanks a lot, Doug. No, it's a pleasure for me that you accepted my invitation to be here in this Volley Talk show in the Plot Volleyball Facebook page. And yes, this is the 61st episode. In the last 60, well, I have players, coaches, referees, physiotherapists, photographers, including Jim Wolf, referees, including Patty Rolfe, players and coaches, including Kirsch Gray and John Kessel, and right now you. It has been a very amazing time. Thanks a lot for being here, Doug.
Yeah, no, it's my pleasure. It's nice to be included in that group.
Well, no, thanks to you. Octavio Medina, a friend of mine, he's Mexican and living now in Seattle, Washington, says, "Hello, my friends. Greetings from sunny, pretty close Salem, Oregon."
Oh, perfect. A nice spot. I hope it's sunnier there than right now in Colorado Springs. We're having a little unusual weather for us. Usually it's very sunny here in Colorado Springs.
You told me a few minutes ago that a tornado alert, right?
We have a warning to be careful to look out for a tornado. Yeah, it's very unusual for us in Colorado Springs. Usually we are one of the leading locations in the United States for sunny skies and clear, beautiful weather. So maybe tomorrow, we hope it'll be better.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot, Doug. And well, as all my guests, I will start to ask you about your beginnings in Ohio, right? You are a guy from Ohio playing international volleyball. That's not very usual, especially at that time.
Yeah, for sure. I was very lucky, I think, Alejandro. I happened to have a physical education teacher in elementary school when I was 10 years old, who introduced me and all the other young children to volleyball in a very serious way, I guess. Just the same as he introduced us to all the other sports that are popular in the United States. At that time, of course, volleyball was not so popular, but he was a player, a kind of good recreational player. And Cleveland, Ohio, which is very far in the north in Cleveland on the lake, had a lot of populations, different populations from mostly Eastern Europe at the time. And so they brought with them soccer, which you and I were talking about a little bit, but also volleyball, which were more popular back in Europe than certainly in the United States. Both of those sports were more popular in Europe.
Yes.
And so my instructor saw that I and my brother, actually, who was a little bit younger than me, but close in age, were interested in a lot of sports. And he took us and introduced us to some of these different groups. There were teams and organizations from Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, Czechoslovakia, Russia,
Bulgaria,
Bulgaria,
Yugoslavia,
all of them.
Romania.
And so it was really a wonderful education for me to see all the different styles of play. And we were talking about different schools of volleyball briefly. And they all played a little differently. And we played for a YMCA and for a Turner organization and for other clubs under the City League at that time. So this was, you know, in the late 1950s or early 1960s. And I consider being very fortunate that I saw from the part of the country that I was this sort of education in volleyball, and it really was a wonderful foundation, and I appreciate so much this terrific physical education instructor introducing me to that sport. That it really helped me to take the sport seriously and treat it just like you would football, basketball, baseball, any of the very popular sports in the United States. And that kind of started me. And anyway, that's the little story that I have. And from there, I started playing with some clubs, and USA Volleyball at the time wasn't even called USA Volleyball. It was the United States Volleyball Association. And there was no junior program. Very few universities were playing volleyball, almost no high schools. You know, it's obviously completely different now.
Well, volleyball at that time, it was an Olympic sport at that time.
Not even an Olympic sport. Not until
started as an Olympic sport in
1964 in Tokyo. Hopefully we'll be back in Tokyo in 2021 for sort of a second go around, and it's changed a lot, but it should be a wonderful Olympics in Tokyo because of the popularity of the sport there.
Yes, yes, great. We have some greetings. Doug says, Heinz Wiedemann, a friend of Mexico, says, my pleasure to can see the father of modern volleyball.
That's very generous of him. Only because I'm so old. Maybe I can be the father. Maybe I knew the father. I don't know. Maybe I'm the son of the father. We'll see.
Oh, Mr. Morgan.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
Judith Sandino, my friend, your friend from Nicaragua, says greetings from Nicaragua, the president of the Norseca Peace and Technical Commission.
That's great. I remember very well. Yeah, it's nice. I think the times that I spent with the Norseca commissions and the board and lots of wonderful people, and I think the work that they do to promote the game in Central America, the Caribbean, in North America is really remarkable. And I know Cristobal Marte really does a wonderful job of growing the sport and trying to make it more popular all over the Norsec area and really the world. So it's nice to hear from those people.
In the last Olympics, you remember there were a lot of Norseca teams in indoor competition.
Yeah, the qualification system sometimes is more favorable to countries in certain confederations than in others. And Rio was a good one for Norseca. So
yes, for in the men's side, the USA, Canada, and Mexico for the first time in almost 50 years, and in the women's side, the USA and Dominican right now, Puerto Rico.
And Puerto Rico, I think is right. Yeah, it was really, and it's a tribute, I think, to the efforts by so many people in the Norseca region to grow the sport. So it's been great.
Yes, I do agree with you. Cosme Martinez from Ciudad Juarez, Chihuahua, in the border with El Paso, says, "Hello, Alex and Doug Beal, the sensei of modern volleyball."
It's really fantastic how wide your audience is. I think it's a tribute to you that you invite people that are interesting to talk to, and it shows the, I don't know, the connection around the world of so many people who are fascinated and are part of the volleyball family. It's really it's a great family, and of all the sports that I know, I think people share information. They want everybody to be successful. There's a lot of broad support for whatever you need in volleyball. There's always somebody to answer a question for you or help you to improve your program, your team, new ideas. It's really special that way. I think it's one of the things that I have always loved about our sport.
Yes, I do agree with you. We are a very united community, the worldwide volleyball community. And that's why in these 61 episodes, I had here people from 15 different countries.
Sure.
It was amazing.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So congratulations. I hope that I hope each one of the interviews has been unique and different and shared different ideas. But
Sure.
I applaud what you're doing, Alejandro. I think, yeah, you should edit some book or some interesting quotes from each of the people you interview.
Yes, yes. Probably one day. I don't know. Maybe.
That's what you tell me is your specialty about volleyball, to promote,
Yes.
to help grow the game. So here you
Yes.
have so much wonderful information from so many different important people in the sport.
Yes. When I met Gary Sato, I think
Yeah,
in Olympic qualification tournament in 2012 in Long Beach, I talked with him a little, and he explained me about his hashtag World the Game, and it's very few words, but it has a very strong message. Grow the
yeah,
game. We have to grow the game. We in the volleyball community, we have to grow the game, and well, with all the people I have talked in this time, I think that the common part is we have to attract more people, not just for playing, but for coaching and to be
yeah,
and for be the fans of the game.
yeah.
Do you agree?
Absolutely. I absolutely agree. I think one of the people that I have spent a lot of time with used to tell me, if we don't take our own sport really seriously, if we don't take it like a professional sport, and we aren't serious about everything about it, the rules, the competition, the organization, the structure, how we can diversify the populations who are exposed, we have no right to expect other people to connect to our sport. We have to be the foundation to take it really seriously and professionally. So I love what you're doing. I think it's fantastic.
Yes, because Roger Goodall is not coming to do that job. Manfred or Dave Silver or Adam Silver, the guy
Yeah.
from the NBA, they are not coming to do the job. We
No.
have to do this job. We,
Yeah.
the volleyball people.
And we have the resources to do it. We have remarkably smart people and passionate people about the game, and just all over the world. I think it's one of the best parts of our sport. One of the most important things is that it's this worldwide sport, and there are passionate, smart, creative people all over the world. So one of the most interesting experiences of my life was running for president of FIVB
I remember very well that day.
back yeah, in 2008.
Yes.
And I had the possibility to speak with so many leaders of federations and confederations and individual clubs all over the world. And it's just impressive how passionate and smart and eager they are to cooperate and grow the sport. They just need a little support from the FIVB or from maybe their national federation the government, depending on each country, is funded a little differently. But I was so impressed with how widespread the knowledge and the passion and the competence is in our sport. It's really it's fantastic, and it's heartwarming, and that's how I know that the sport is going to continue to grow and be more successful, and especially in the times we're in, which is a terribly challenging time for everybody. But I think volleyball has some really unique components and characteristics that make it likely to continue to grow after the pandemic is over, and in a direction that I think is just there's no ceiling to where volleyball can go. So.
Yes, I totally agree with you, Doc. Thank you very much. Luis Carlos Rosete, my friend, and he's the technical coordinator of the college volleyball in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
He says, a great guest, the transformer of modern volleyball, agreeing for your presence and contributions. Congratulations, Alex, a big hug and double congratulations. Thanks, Luis Carlos.
That's great. Yeah, I hope that the college world of volleyball in Mexico is growing, because it's one of the most important parts of the growth of volleyball in the United States. And obviously, most people know that for women, volleyball is the number one, maybe the number two sport for popularity, both at the high school and the university. But not as many people know that men's volleyball is also growing very fast, and hopefully the pandemic will subside in the next some months or 6 months, and we'll continue on that trajectory. But there's a wonderful organization in the United States called First Point Foundation that's really working hard to add new men's collegiate programs, support the existing programs, help new parts of our country adopt high school boys volleyball. So it's really on a good trajectory and a good path.
And it's ironic, because the men's program has earned 3 gold medals, and the women's program, none.
So far.
yeah, so far.
I have a lot of confidence in Karch.
Oh, this group is this current group
team,
is great.
Yeah, and they haven't won a gold medal at the Olympics yet, but they've won a world championships. They've medaled in almost every competition the last 4 or 5 years. So they're right at the top with Brazil, with Italy, with Serbia, China,
Russia.
So, the world of international volleyball at the very top level is only a small little difference between the team that wins to the team that's maybe fifth. Really close competition, both men and women. And so it's pretty exciting, I think, every new world event, whether it's the Volleyball Nations League, the World Championships, Olympic Games, even the qualification for to get into the Olympic Games is so difficult these days for so many of the top teams.
Yes, well, I'm cheering that USA Volleyball can get both golds.
Okay, I appreciate that we have fans in Mexico and around the world. That's great. Yeah.
Well, Octavio Medina says, I hope next year you can visit Querétaro. Yeah, that's part of the plan. You will be very welcome with all of your knowledge and experience.
Yeah, I really enjoy speaking with coaches, and I view the opportunities as a learning both directions, and I hope all of us never stop learning. And so I'm really excited to visit Mexico and to share some ideas with the coaches there. I think I've engaged with the Mexican teams so many times in my career, and we've had great experiences playing in Mexico, playing against Mexico, participating in conferences both in the United States, and I'm looking forward to going to Mexico. So hopefully we'll be able to do that with the state of the world.
Yeah, well, for the people who doesn't know, the seminar was scheduled to be held in Querétaro in July, in 3 weeks from now. Obviously, it was canceled or it was postponed for next year, July.
Slightly delayed, maybe.
Just 12 months.
Yeah, yeah,
But well, it's scheduled to be held in July 9th, 10th, and 11th.
yeah.
Okay, please contact Pepe Nunez in Querétaro for more details.
Great.
Thanks. It's going to be a great seminar, Duke.
Yeah,
I'm very pleased that you and John accepted to come.
yeah. John is just one of the best people to motivate, energize, and stimulate people's thinking in so many different directions. So I've done a lot of speaking with John, and we enjoy each other, and we enjoy speaking to coaches. So it's going to be a wonderful experience.
Yeah, this was motivated. This idea came to me because the seminar you did in Denmark 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So I say myself, hey, why these guys can come to Mexico? And
Yeah.
I spoke with Pepe Nunez, and he says, hey, it's okay, it's perfect. They are great personalities of volleyball, so let's make it happen. But well, we have to wait just one more year.
Yeah. Now John and I have spoken together, I don't know, maybe 10 or 15 times in different places of the world. We did a seminar, I remember, in Cairo, Egypt. That was fantastic. And yeah, we're happy to do it. And I've said this to many people. I almost never turn down an opportunity to go. I think it's the responsibility of some of us who have had some great experiences to share as much as we can with coaches and hear from them what are the issues, the problems, what are the things that are going really well, so we can take these ideas back, share some ideas we have, and help everybody grow the game. So I'm looking forward to it. It'll be a great experience.
Perfect. I'm very sure about that. A very good friend, Alejandro Barcenas, says greetings from Germany to the father of the modern volleyball, one of the biggest men in the volleyball world.
He's very generous. From Germany, he's living now. Yeah.
He went there for a athletics track and field seminar.
Uh-huh.
But he's coming back to Mexico this Sunday.
Yeah, you have to be careful. Sometimes when you travel, you can't come back now in the situation, but that's good. I'm glad. Thank you. That's very, very kind of him.
Alfredo Cabero says greetings from Chile, Santiago de Chile.
Jeez.
And a good friend, Jesus Perales Navarro, the president of Mexican Volleyball Federation, says greetings to Mr. Doug Beal.
Thank you. Jesus is a good person. He's done some really positive things with the federation in Mexico. I think they really have played a very important role in the growth of the Norseca region confederation and supporting Cristobal Marte, who's done also a wonderful job. So I love going to Mexico. We talked about this before we started, and I'm going for the culture, for the food, for the interaction. So lots of pluses, I think.
Yes. And as I told you minutes ago, Taco Bell is not Mexican food.
Okay, I'm going to stay away from Taco Bell when we come for the seminar.
Neither Chipotle. They're not Mexican food.
Okay.
Okay, Doug, please tell us a little more about your experience as a player. You know that you played also in the national team. How was that experience, and how was your transition from being a national team player to a coach?
Yeah, when I started being serious about volleyball, I only thought about playing. From the time maybe I was 13 or 14 until maybe the mid to late 1970s. I was able to play on our national team for about 7 years, several world championships. We never qualified for the Olympic Games, but I was selected for a couple of Olympic teams if we had. We weren't exactly a world power during the years that I was playing, So I was a pretty good player. I don't know in today's world whether I'd be a good national team player or not, but probably not. And I say this to people quite a lot. I was a pretty good player, I think. Not fantastic, but I was a better coach. I think I understood. I think motivation. I understood organization. I understood planning. I understood motor learning. I think I understood how to use my time effectively with teams, and I think I might have been even a better administrator than I was a coach. And so I've been very lucky, very fortunate to partly be in the right place at the right time. And so I could take advantage of some opportunities that came along. I think I'm a pretty good listener, and I believed and still believe that you can incorporate and learn from almost anybody. And you don't always learn things you're going to do. Sometimes you learn about things that you don't want to do, and you see things that don't work. And I think a little bit as a player, certainly as a coach, and certainly as an administrator, you have to be willing to fail. You have to be willing to make mistakes. Otherwise, you never take any risks. You never change in a significant way to look for new opportunities. So, gosh, I've had so many terrific experiences as a player, quite a few actually in Mexico, same as a coach. One of the very first competitions I remember was playing in some Norseca competitions in Mexico. Norseca only began with Ruben Acosta as the president of Norseca, then ultimately the president of FIVB. In 1969 was the very first Norseca competition. And Mexico was instrumental in hosting competitions and in really creating the structure for what is today Norseca, that Cristobal Marte in the Dominican Republic is continuing and expanding and making more professional. And I've told him this many times. I think of the confederations, only Europe is perhaps more financially stable and organized than Norseca. I think compared to South America, to Asia, to Africa, Norseca is more well-staffed, more structured, and supports the individual federations at a much higher level, both in the development and also in the competitions. So, part of the coaching that I started was because coaching at that time in the United States was not a very evolved profession. Today, I think it's just remarkable, the quality and the volume of remarkable coaches that we have in the United States, because we've created this wonderful profession. We have a national coaching organization that I think is the equal, if not the number one organization in the world for coaching development, the American Volleyball Coaches Association. So it's been a wonderful, 50, 60 years of experience for me to go from one role and see how the sport has grown, evolved, and to play the role that I've been able to play in helping in some of these areas. But boy, we have really changed the face of volleyball, I think, from the United States, but also through the work of Norseca, FIVB, all the other organizations that have contributed so dramatically.
Okay. And you took the national team as a coach for Olympics in '84 or before that?
I actually started coaching in December of 1976
The national team.
with the national team. I was 29 years old. And honestly, I didn't know anything. And maybe, I don't know, maybe I was lucky, but we were just starting a national center for men in another city in Ohio, Dayton, Ohio.
Yes.
And I was interested and willing to do it for a pretty small salary. And I had to talk some players into wanting to play. But we learned a lot. We got better. We weren't a fantastic team, but we had some high points. But I learned a lot about coaching. And I think USA Volleyball learned a lot about what was important to have a successful national team center. And we relocated from Dayton to San Diego, and that's when we really started to have some success. And absolutely, moving to San Diego coincided with the arrival of a group of really special players. Karch, of course, but Dusty Dvorak, Pat Powers, Craig Buck, Steve Timmons, lots of iconic players that were incredibly talented, and some players who didn't play very long on the national team but contributed a lot to the development of that program. Tim Hovland, St. John Smith, Randy Stoklos, Mike Dodd. So it was a special time for volleyball in the United States, but certainly for the men's national team. And not only were they remarkable athletes, but they were special personalities, I think, and very committed. And they eventually, in a certain way, took ownership of that team and that program that allowed us to be really successful and achieve at the top of the world.
And I think it will be pretty difficult to move all those players to Dayton, Ohio, right?
It wasn't so easy. Yeah, a couple of them did come to Dayton near the end of that quad, maybe in '79. But it wasn't until we moved to San Diego that we really got all of the best players that we had in the country to be willing to really commit to the national team. So you can't just tell the players you have to do this and you have to do that. You have to listen to the players. You have to be in the right location. You have to have the right support. And one of the things that I've certainly learned is that the relationship of the national team to the national federation and being aligned in the same priorities with the same motivation and everybody listening to each other, that might be one of the most important things for a country to be successful with their national program internationally.
And do you think for that quad for the Olympics in 1980, the team was at that time so strong as was in Los Angeles '84? Because I don't know in which day did you realize or did you get noticed that you are not going to the Moscow Olympics?
We played in a qualifying tournament in Bulgaria in late '79 or early '80. I can't remember exactly, but around in the winter time, because when we were in Sofia, Bulgaria, it was very cold, so it had to be December or January.
Yes, yes.
And we had a pretty good team with some of the players that were involved in '84. But we didn't train very long to prepare. But I think, saw for the first time, maybe, that we could be pretty good. That if we made some changes with our program, maybe a new location, increased the competition, how many matches we played, what kind of support from the National Federation, we could be pretty good. And I think we started the next quad understanding that. And absolutely, without question, knowing that we were going to be qualified to play in the Los Angeles Olympics is an enormous advantage. And you see it in almost every Olympic Games. The host country, sometimes a little bit, sometimes a lot, changes the paradigm of the stature of the sport in their country. Sometimes with their women's team, sometimes with their men's team, sometimes with the beach, sometimes with everything. But it's a huge opportunity and advantage if you maximize it, if you take advantage of it in the correct way to host the Olympic Games. And I'm sure, for example, in 2021 in Tokyo, the Japanese teams will be very strong, and the sport will have an uptick in popularity, in support. The pro leagues will improve, will increase in popularity. So it'll have a lasting value to the country.
Yes, well, in this show, I have had as a guest a lot of Spaniard players who was impacted by the Barcelona 82 Olympics, and they clearly say that that event almost, well, not almost, clearly boosted the volleyball in Spain.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the Barcelona games were fantastic games, and I'm sure there are other sports that can say the same thing, but volleyball. There are so many countries where volleyball could be really one of the strongest sports in their country, and sometimes you just need the impetus and the exposure and the visibility and a big event. And it doesn't always have to be the Olympics because it's not happening very often. But the Olympics is bigger than any other event for sure.
Yes, and please, Doc, share with us some of the what? How can I say it? Not the secrets, but the key factors that the USA volleyball men's team was so strong in the 80s, with winning the gold in Los Angeles, winning the gold in 88 in Seoul, winning the World Cup in 85, winning the World Championships in 86.
Yeah,
I think a lot of factors has to be online to achieve that. Can you share some of that with us, please?
sure. I say sure because it's not like there are so many secrets. So I
Work.
think, yeah, it's a lot of
It's
work.
work.
A lot of work. Yeah.
Especially a lot of work.
Yeah.
Talent helps a lot, but it's work.
Yeah. Nothing replaces talent. Absolutely. I think there are several factors, Alejandro, and I've thought about this many times, and of course, and spoken about it many times. So one of the factors is that the coaching population, especially on the men's side in the United States, is very collaborative with each other, very friendly. There's not a lot of jealousy. There isn't, I don't know, there's not a lack of cooperation. There's a lot of support for the overall individuals who are working with the national team at any moment. And there's a stream that started back in the 1960s with Jim Coleman and people like Jim and Carl McGowan that developed this philosophy and eager sharing of information and support. So that's been a big factor. Continuing today with John Speraw, who's the coach, and Karch on the women's side. So, but it really, I think, was exaggerated on the men's side first, and now I think Karch is doing a great job, and others before him on the women's side. So I think there's a wonderful continuity with the coaching that has allowed the team in the 80s to be successful, and then have an opportunity again under Hugh McCutcheon in 2008 and really being awfully close in some other world competitions. So secondly, there's a really good alignment between the national team center and the federation, USA Volleyball. And so the leaders of USA Volleyball, certainly well before me, understood that for the national team to be good, they have to prioritize this. And it doesn't just mean money, but it means creating the support in the location that the center happens to be. And we've moved it around a number of times. And I think it's probably the most successful right now in Anaheim, California, just outside Los Angeles. But each time we've moved, I think it's gotten better, and we've learned more things, more support. What do the athletes need to be comfortable, to be their best? What kind of physical training? What kind of psychological help? What kind of experts do we need around the team? And so I think that's been really good. I think, and we talked about this a little bit, I think something else is we developed a style of play that maybe suited the U.S. growth of the individual athletes and the system from junior club to high school to university to the national team. And it's a system that I think depends on really good communication, and it depends on a balance between the block defense, the side out system of offense, and so there is no weakness to the U.S. system. There isn't a limitation in some part. And so sometimes in some of the other countries, the way they play volleyball, they're fantastic focus on one part of the game versus another part. I think with the U.S. teams, we've tried to create a team that was smart, didn't make a lot of mistakes, communicated well with each other. We had some, sometimes more, sometimes less, some interchangeable parts. But so I think we have this system of American volleyball that's pretty good. And I think the popularity of the sport has been important as it's grown in the United States, and the development of the coaching population, the university success, the focus from the NCAA to focus on the championship. I think all of that's been really important to grow. So the one piece that hasn't been created yet, and I think we're very close now in the United States, is professional leagues or some kind of a domestic league that will dramatically increase the visibility of the sport in the United States. And frankly, I think it'll increase it all over the world. The interest in what's happening in the United States around the world is pretty special. And I think that's one of the reasons I hear from so many people, we really hope there's a professional league in the United States, because the American sporting scene is international, and people follow the NBA or the NFL or the NHL, Major League Baseball. We have this unique culture of professional sports in the United States. And so I'm hopeful, but I'm also optimistic that we can develop a sustainable professional league for both men and women. And already now the AVP for beach volleyball is proving to be very stable and successful. And of course, the pandemic is a challenge for everybody. But we assume that we can come out of this, and we're going to be stronger and more socially aware, and maybe we'll all be better citizens of the world. But I also think sports will help us return to some more normal life.
Yes, I hope so too, Doug. And that's a big question that I have written that. Why do you think is the factor that in the USA can have in the last years a pro league? There have been a lot of tries, a lot of successful projects,
Mhm.
You have a very strong, very strong collegiate league, and USA Volleyball make almost 500, 600 transfers a year to play overseas. Uh, as you are saying, you have a very competitive market of pro sports, baseball, hockey, football, now soccer, basketball. Uh,
Yeah,
I think, well, I know that there's no only one reason that the Pro League of Volleyball hasn't been successful in the United States.
right. I think there are two principal reasons why it's been so difficult. And one you mentioned, the marketplace in the United States is very crowded. Uh, we have, you were mentioning to me, Alejandro, earlier before we went on the air, how dominant soccer football is in Mexico.
A lot.
And yeah, and that's really the case in a lot of countries. So while you have one major sport that really dominates, in the United States, we have four. And it just creates a small amount of space for a new sport to gain traction, to gain enough um, economic viability to sustain themselves over time. Not only do we have football, basketball, baseball, ice hockey as the major sports, golf is incredibly popular, winter sports of skiing, tennis,
Wrestling, wrestling.
wrestling. We have almost everything, and so many, and so it's not just that volleyball has a difficult time to become a professional sport. Anything else is difficult. The WNBA is just for women's basketball is just now achieving some level of stability. Professional soccer in the United States has been going for 20 years and it's still way behind the others. And yet it's sustainable. So we have to mitigate a little bit our expectations. There isn't enough room in the entertainment marketplace for another big sport. So we don't have to be big. We just have to be credible and sustainable, and we have to carve out the niche. So that's one problem. It's a challenge. The other problem is simply the economics of our country. To be credible, to be sustainable, to be taken seriously, you have to cover, I used to say, 3 of our 4 time zones. And so that increases the distance, the travel, the cost, the challenge of showcasing your events. So we have some financial costs that are greater than most of the other countries. Not all of them. Certainly, Russia, for example, has lots of time zones and deals with the same kind of distances. But not all of the countries. In Europe, it's not that big of a problem. And so that's an issue. The one other factor that has been a problem for volleyball, I think, is that and it's also for many years was a problem for soccer. It's viewed or has an image of a participant sport, not necessarily a spectator sport. And so it's grown hundreds of thousands, millions even of young people are playing, but not that it doesn't translate into those same people and their parents and their family members and their siblings to go buy a ticket to go watch. So we have to make that transition. But having said all of those things that are challenges, I think we're really close in the United States. I know there are 4, maybe 5 credible efforts right now that are better organized and better funded than I think we've ever had before to try to create professional volleyball in the United States. I think women is likely to be first because we have this huge population of participants and a substructure in our country with so many junior clubs, successful and and so many hundreds of thousands of kids going through. It's the number one sport now for girls at the high school level. It's the number one sport for girls and women at the collegiate level. So I'm more than cautiously optimistic. I'm aggressively optimistic. I think we're going to have professional leagues in the next year or two in the United States. Can they sustain themselves? Can they grow? Can they be financially viable for the players, coaches, the media? We'll have to see how that develops. But I think it's going to happen.
Yeah, if that happens, that will be a smash because all of these players, men and women that has to go to play overseas, they say, hey, it's okay to live a half a year in Italy or in Russia or in France, but I'd rather be California or in
Sure.
Nebraska or in Minnesota than to be here. I miss a lot of family family events or
Sure.
things to do in my country. So I think it will be a smash because you have a collegiate, a very strong collegiate league for volleyball.
Yeah. And when we have the best 300, 400, 500 American players going outside the United States to Europe, Asia, South America, even Africa and the Middle East, they go everywhere. We lose something significant in our ability to create known personalities. So yes, they're national team players, and they become visible during the Olympic Games, and maybe some other times when we have international competition in the United States. But on a year-round basis, we lose who they are for a big chunk of the year, and that makes it harder for us to, as successfully as we'd like, to grow the game. Because part of today's world is you want to identify with the individual athletes in all the sports. You want to identify with Jordan Larson, with Matt Anderson. You want to know who they are, and you want to see them playing and get to know them as people on a year-round basis. And to a certain degree, that's why beach volleyball has grown in the United States, even though it's very difficult financially to support beach events. But they're here in this country much more even than our indoor players are. And so I think the pro league could be huge for volleyball in the United States. And as I say, if volleyball in the United States reaches this higher and higher level, it's going to influence volleyball around the world. And it's going to create more credibility, more exposure, more marketing, more promotion. We're going to have more venues that are becoming known for volleyball, more endemic sponsors, more broadcast interest. It's going to have a huge positive impact on the sport around the world.
Yeah, for example, those names you mentioned, Matt Anderson or Jordan Larson or Rachel Adams,
Sure.
I know them very well because I'm 100% in volleyball. But
Right.
A person in, I don't know, Portland, Maine,
Yeah.
there's no a big volleyball community. It's a name they heard maybe every 4 years.
Right. And so we have to attract people beyond just the passionate volleyball people. We have to attract, the relatives, the parents, but just the sport fan, somebody who likes sports. And to do that, you really have to have a professional league. And we have a fantastic following at the collegiate level, at the university level. We have to translate that or transfer that or some of it into our following of our professional league. And I think, as I keep saying, I'm very optimistic. I think that can happen, and I think it's going to happen in the short term.
Yes, I hope so because it could be great. It could be great for me as a spectator, I am able to travel to the US to watch professional leagues. I have been in California for the last World Leagues because I like the game, but well,
Right.
not everybody is me. We
No,
have to, for example, every year NFL is coming here to Mexico, and it doesn't matter if it plays Raiders or the Cardinals or the Rams. People goes because they go to watch the show, the
right.
game, all that the game involves, not only Pat Mahomes or Jared Goff or something
Sure.
like that, you know?
Absolutely. And for people like you, it'll be great too because it might provide more opportunity for work for you.
Yes, of
You might
course.
you might broadcast, you might write, you might help translate the games or transfer the images into other places, into Mexico. Who knows? So
I'm
yeah,
in.
you're okay. You're ready to sign up right now.
Yes, tell me. Just tell me
Uh,
that.
yeah, but I think that's an important part of it to create um, occupations, careers for people connected to volleyball in the marketing, in the broadcast side, in the event management side. So it's going to have a geometric, exponential influence in a really broad way. So
Yes, and also for the area, for the whole Norseca, because if the United States starts a pro league, maybe players from Mexico will
absolutely.
want to go, players from Cuba maybe, or Puerto Rico, or Trinidad, or the league will become stronger.
And that would be consistent with what's happened in almost all of the major pro sports in the United States. Yeah,
Yes, of course.
players from around the world. I think one of the things we're about in this country is excellence and achievement at a high level. And so the best players, we would like to try to attract some of them, if not as many as possible. So for sure, it will help Norseca.
Yeah, and it happens a lot
Yeah,
in baseball. A lot of Cubans, Venezuelans, Puerto Ricans. In
absolutely.
basketball, a lot of people from
Yeah.
Eastern Europe or
Yeah,
Argentina.
hockey also, hockey,
Okay.
basketball, baseball, yeah, and even the NFL now is looking outside the borders of the U.S. Yeah, absolutely.
I my friend Paco Vaz, the Spaniard the coach right now working in Peru, says a professional league sounds so good. Yes, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it sounds good to almost everybody around the world, and I again I don't want to guarantee. I can't sign my name to a contract and guarantee, but I think we've never been closer, and the sport has never been more able to support it than we are right now after the pandemic is subsides, of course, which we
And
probably say about everything right now.
Duha, all those initiatives are started by USA Volleyball or not everyone.
No, they're really started independently of USA Volleyball. Some of them have some connection to USA Volleyball, and some have almost no connection. But I think it's really positive that some very smart people who have studied this sport and want to invest in this sport are aggregating at this moment in time. Uh, Certainly, they started before the pandemic, and maybe their plans are a little delayed, or maybe not. Um, each one is a little different, and I don't know all of the details about each of them, but I know a fair amount, a reasonable amount about most of them. So I'm again, I can't talk about specific people or how much money or any of those things, but I'm very very encouraged that there are what I believe to be credible efforts being made with uh, well-funded, credible efforts, and I think they're going to be successful. So I'm quite optimistic. So
Okay.
21, 22, I think in that time frame we're going to see the start of something serious in the professional world.
That's great. I hope so too. Doug, it's been an hour since the start. I
Okay,
don't know how much time do you have? 15, 20 minutes?
no problem.
Please tell us, do something about your, well, when you quit the national team, you went to coach overseas, right? To Italy. I don't
Yeah,
know. I don't know. I'm not pretty sure if alongside with Steve Timmons and Carlos to in Messaggero,
different club, but at the same time, yeah.
Modena, or what?
I was in Milano,
Milano.
Milan, yeah.
Oh,
So, um, I've been, as I say, I've been really fortunate, and I had some opportunities before I agreed to go, and I've never really planned my life out in a specific way. I think I've been really fortunate. So things seem to be available, and I've been in the right place at the right time. And um, my wife and I looked at the opportunity, and we, I don't know, we didn't have children at that time, and so it was a really nice opportunity with a very well structured club in Italy. At that time, Italy was probably the most high level of the leagues around the world. And at the same time, almost every U.S. player who was a part of the 84 or even 88 team was playing in Italy, except Karch and Timmons. And so they went that same year that I went to coach. Um, and there were particularly three clubs in Italy that were owned by very important, wealthy people. And so the resources available were quite significant. The crowd interest in Italy was at a really high level. Our team was playing in quite a big arena in Milan, and we were interested in going to Italy because of the culture and the social environment. It's a.
the food.
I wasn't going to bring that up, but since you mentioned it, the food is not so bad. Also, the wine is not so bad. Yeah. So there were some wonderful opportunities, but the structure was very professional. The experience my wife and I had for the 2 seasons was fantastic. I wouldn't trade it for anything. Um, it's a lot different than coaching the national team or coaching an American university team, but very, very engaging. And the players, I think, for the most part, were that I dealt with were fantastic, and many of them I still keep in touch with, and it's been 30 years. Um, and I think the growth of professional volleyball around the world is one of the maybe underreported stories. Not only are there more U.S. athletes who go overseas every year, but they go to more different countries, more different leagues. And there are places that I think the average sports fan doesn't even understand is supporting a really pretty good, well organized professional league, but usually both men and women. So, we've had athletes going to the Middle East. We've had athletes going to Indonesia. We've had athletes going to the small islands in Europe. Almost all the countries in Asia. I mean, we have more, as I say, more athletes every year and more different countries every year. So it's the growth of professional volleyball around the world is a really interesting part of our sport and a very successful part. Um, and now Russia has a wonderful league. Turkey has a wonderful league. Italy, of course, is still good. Germany is really strong.
France.
Korea, China, Japan, Brazil, Argentina. I think one of the reasons why the league in the United States is so important is because NORCECA, if NORCECA is behind in any area, it's in the area of professional leagues inside the NORCECA boundaries. So hopefully the U.S. could change that. But yeah, the 2 years we had were fantastic. My wife got pregnant, and so we came back after 2 seasons. But we really view that as a high point in our lives, and we've been back quite a few times to Italy with our children, and it's just Italy's a special place for us, and the friends we have over there are just among our favorite people and closest friends in the world.
That's great. Yeah, Doug, and you also won the FIVB World Club Championship.
We did. Our team was very good. We had some Italian national players, some of the U.S. players from the teams that I coached before came and played on the team. You could only have 2 foreign players at that time. It was a more limited number, with things have changed a little bit, especially in Europe. But the people in Milan supported the team. We led the league in attendance. We were competitive at the top level. It was just, I can't say enough about how much we enjoyed it.
Can you share with us some of the names in that team?
Yeah.
Roster?
Andrea Zorzi, Andrea Lucchetta, Franco Bertoli, Claudio Galli, Dusty Dvorak, Jeff Stork, Bob Stavertlik. Yeah, we had some wonderful players. So Zorzi, Lucchetta, Galli were national team players. Bertoli was a former national team player, one of the greatest players in the history of Italy. They won. The Italians won their first world championship the first year I was there, in 1990, and Zorzi and Lucchetta were world champions. Then they won 2 more consecutive, three consecutive world championships. The league was just very popular then, those couple of seasons, and continued after we came home. Great time, great experience, great treatment. Our club was owned by Silvio Berlusconi, who went into politics. You had a big soccer club, the Milan soccer club, and San Siro was the famous soccer stadium in Milan. So Milano is it's a great city. The food is fantastic. The people are great. They love sports. It's special. I was back there a little over a year ago on a golfing trip in the area around Milan and southern Switzerland. And probably the 10th time I've been back to Italy since we coached there, and saw so many friends and just had a great time. So
great, Doug. And please tell us something about your time as a CEO of USA Volleyball. The federation grew arithmetically with you at the front. Can you tell us something about that?
For 12 years, I got to do, I guess, my 3rd dream job, maybe my 4th dream job. So my first dream was to play on the national team. That was a dream of mine. Second was to coach the men. Third was to coach in Europe someplace and have a great club. And fourth was to try to run USA Volleyball. So I've honestly been really blessed, and I hope I'm appreciative of that. I said this the day I retired and left USA Volleyball. There wasn't a day that I didn't wake up that I didn't enjoy going into work and spending time with the staff that we had at USA Volleyball. We were able to, I think, accomplish a lot of growth and some pretty special things for the organization. I think we had a wonderful culture. We had some really committed, passionate people like John Kessel, like Kerry Klosterman, like Karch Garai, like Hugh McCutcheon, great coaches. Long Ping coached for us, and just it was fantastic. Just so many people. We were able to grow the income, the events, the revenue, the membership. Volleyball is in just a great place in the menu of sports. We had great success with our starting beach programs and a beach department, and winning medals in beach and in indoor. I don't know if people know how dominant internationally the United States and Brazil really are across all platforms of international volleyball, indoor, men, women.
Last week, Randy Stoklos and Sinjin Smith was here, and they told us a little about that.
Yeah, and they're a big part of it. But no other country comes close to the U.S. and Brazil across the entire range of programming, and indoor, beach, sitting, the Paralympics, junior, youth, just unbelievable. Brazil is probably ahead in world medals, but we're very close, and nobody else really has that kind of range where they've got success in all the disciplines, the genders, the age groups. So it's something I think I'm extraordinarily proud of. We bought a building, we supported other national governing bodies, we created a foundation, we had just wonderful success with our national teams. We set up the Anaheim National Training Center. We hired great people who did terrific jobs for USA Volleyball. It was really 12 years of really joy for me to be able to, I don't know, sort of see my vision and my passion developed through the staff and the players of USA Volleyball.
Great, thanks for sharing, and tell us something about your current job as the CEO of USA Surfboard.
Not CEO, no, chair of the board.
Okay, sure.
Chair of the board, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. They're a fairly young NGB, and I'm trying to provide the experience that I have with USA Volleyball to maybe assist in some organization. But surfing is one of those sports that is exactly in the model of what the International Olympic Committee and I think the broadcasters are looking for. Sports that appeal to a younger population, action sports, sort of the new wave of disciplines that I think you're going to see a lot of in the next 2 or 3 Olympics. And we're blessed with some great performers in surfing in the United States. And I think its first entry into the Olympic world will be in Tokyo. And so if I can help a little bit, I'm happy to do it. I love the Olympic movement. I love the national governing bodies in the United States. And I'm not a surfing expert by any means, but the people who are on the board and the staff, the CEO and the chief operating officer are just passionate, lifelong people who want the sport to grow. And I think it has a fantastic upside. It doesn't mean I'm any less interested in volleyball or less involved. I'm trying to juggle both of them. Some days it's not so easy, but I'm really enjoying the sort of the opportunity with a much different kind of national governing body to work in the governance area, the organizational side, marketing, helping them get ready for what I think will be a really special initial appearance in the Olympics in Tokyo next summer.
Okay, that's great. That's great, Doug. It has been a really, really good time. Very, very interesting talk with you, Doug.
Thanks.
I'm very, very pleased. One last question. What's your favorite real Mexican food?
Oh boy, I like enchiladas. I think my mother-in-law loves to cook Mexican food, and so it's a tradition in our family now, especially on my wife's side. So we eat a lot of. I think what we think is Mexican food. It may not be what you think is Mexican food, but it's pretty good, and I like it, and my kids love it. So it's been great.
Okay, please be sure that at the time when you come to Mexico, Querétaro,
Yeah,
we will get you to a to the finest places of Mexican food right here.
I'm looking forward to it. This will be great. Alejandro, thank you very much for this. This has been a lot of fun for me.
And thanks a lot to you, Doug.
Yeah.
I'm honored. It has been a real pleasure to have you here. Thanks a lot for contributing to this project. You are the 61st
Yeah,
guest
I think
here.
it's great.
Great, and hope to see you again in the short term.
I do too. Yeah, keep in touch, and I want to thank all the people who are listening and sending in very nice messages. Thanks very much.
Okay, thanks a lot, Doug. See you soon.
Thanks. Bye bye.
Bye.